Hey everyone, welcome to Pastor Play. So today I will be reviewing Anne Rice's interview with the vampire, Season 1, Episode 4, titled The Ruthless Pursuit of Blood with All a Child's Demanding. Currently streaming on AMC Plus, and it's also going to be on AMC, just the cable channel. All right, so we open up with Daniel getting access to journals from Louis and Claudia's past, which is his daughter in the 1900s. And Louis has also arranged for Daniel to receive his levodopa transfusions for his Parkinson's disease there at the condo. And we open with, Louis saving Claudia, who's near death's door. She has burns all over her body, and Louis he's pleading with Lestat to turn her into a vampire, which Lestat does. And from this she becomes an immortal. Initially, she thinks that Louis is this black angel, and she comes to realize that that's not necessarily who they are. But they become this kind of family unit, and she calls Lestat Uncle Les and Louis Daddy Lou, and again they just kind of become a family, and they show her how to hunt and feed, but she kind of has this insatiable thirst. She's, instead of just kind of getting one person, she ends up usually doing two, like a night. And in this episode, it really does kind of show like a family dynamic. Lestat and Louis, they actually become like actual parents, and they're arguing like an old married couple, over how Claudia is behaving, and telling her not to run, or not to run and skip. And I just thought that was actually very funny. And there was also the scene where once she gets her own coffin, and eventually they get her own room. But before that, before she gets her own room and they get Claudia her own coffin, there's this scene where Lestat is sneaking into Louis' coffin, and Lestat's like, I miss you. And then Louis like, I miss you too. And Claudia's just like looking, with her in her coffin, like a little bit up, just watching them. And it's just kind of interesting seeing it, through Claudia's eyes, kind of this whole kind of experience of her becoming a vampire and adapting, and then just how it changes the dynamic of Lestat and Louis. But then as we continue in this episode, Louis' mom's dies, and at the wake, Claudia meets, Louis' sister Grace and her husband Levi, and now there's just a lot more hostility between Grace and Lestat. I mean, between Grace and Louis, and even Levi, her husband. But they basically, they're asking Louis, can they basically get the house turned over in their name? And he agrees to it, and Grace is like, you have the money, you don't need this house. It's, they don't have that same kind of, you know sweet kind of brother and sister dynamic that they had, like in the first couple episodes. It's become a little, it has become more separate. But they've had christenings for her, for her kids, and different events that, of course, in the day that he can't come to. So because of him being a vampire, there's kind of been this distance. He comes around every so often. It's not consistent. And to an extent, it's also to probably, to keep his nieces and nephews safe, from him biting them, or, in this case, now you have Claudia. So, I mean, he's technically keeping them safe, but, that relationship has changed, between Louis and Grace. And you can really see that in this episode. And then it's only like a 2 or 3 minute scene, but you can really see that. And, now we go a couple years, and Claudia, she's 18 now, even though she still looks 14, which she was when she got bitten. And her hormones are kind of going into overdrive, and probably just her just with her being a vampire and like the emotions and the her instincts and all that kind of driving it. But it really goes into overdrive after Lestat takes her to this like couples hook up spot in the woods, to learn how to kill the one and the plus one at the same time. Um, from there she realizes that she's dressing younger than what she is, and she wants to be be more dressed more mature, appear more mature, even though she's still even though she still looks 14, but she dresses older. um and she ends up falling in love with Charlie, this kind of horse and carriage um driver. But she ends up draining him completely dry in kind of a night of like passion and making out with him. And she brings him back home to Lestat, and Lestat's like, I can't turn him. And she's begging Lestat, can you try? And Lestat's like, you completely drained him dry. I can't turn him into anything. He's dead. You killed him. And you can tell that at this point, you can tell that she loved Charlie again. And Lestat's just kind of cruel, like when like the I don't know if it was maybe episode 2 when Louis was like, "Am I not enough?" And Lestat just starts laughing. So Lestat is kind of he's a little he's I mean I wouldn't even say that he's dense. He's just a little bit more far removed from I guess his kind of human feelings, but he ends up they end up burning Charlie's body, and Lestat like forces Claudia to look at his body as it burns and the skin off of his flesh. And he's like, this is a lesson, for you to learn to never get close to mortals. And he's like holds her face to like look at Charlie's body's burning. It's a really kind of, I mean, yeah, it's an effed up scene, kind of in that sense, where he's just kind of he's a little cold, and she's just like crying, and he's like, you need to learn this lesson now. And then we go back to, we're back present day. Daniel's, saying Claudia's journal is like Anne Frank meets Stephen King, which is actually pretty much on point. I don't think I could have said it better myself. That's a good like comparison of analyzing kind of like her diary. And Daniel asked Louis, where were these diaries in 1973 when they did those first interviews? And Louis was like, after reading, Claudia's diaries, and realizing that he failed her as a father, you know, with it all being documented there, in the diaries, he's like, would you have shared these diaries with your younger self, and it kind of more or less just ends there. And Daniel also says Claudia was a band-aid for Lestat and Louis' shitty marriage. There's some, the writers, they gave Daniel some good like kind of, I don't know if they were, I don't want to say zingers per se, but just some good like truth kind of, you know kind of some just truthful direct kind of remarks on kind of what the the information he's gaining from reading these diaries of Claudia. But then after that, we go back, to I guess at this point they kind of mentioned it's like 1923, and Claudia is angry after the death of Charlie, and she's just kind of going through the emotions. She's just angry that she's going to stay 14 in her body as she grows in age, and just kind of coming to that realization that no matter how much older she gets, she's still going to look 14. And you know and just kind of the way her body looks at that age, and how she's not going to like grow into like a full grown woman. And and so she ends up opening the sunroof, in the house, and she starts burning her arm. But she basically says, she's gonna have more fun either way, and the episode kind of ends there. But this was a good episode. I think initially in the movie it was played by Kirsten Dunst, the Claudia character. It looks like they may have race bended her character as well in the TV show. But I like this. I like this portrayal of Claudia. I mean, in the movie, at least from what I remember, I found a lot of that movie. I felt like it was some more slow paced, and to me, sometimes again, I think I said it before that it was like a little boring in some parts. But the show is making, at least for me, this interpretation of it is more like fast paced. It's more engaging, at least to me, than the movie was. You know, so I'm loving this interpretation of Claudia, the dynamic that she brings to Lestat and Louis' dynamic. How they argue like a married couple. I like the whole kind of family dynamic that she brings, and how getting the acting and the script, like the writing for this episode, I thought was really good. The kind of zingers, the jokes, the you know how they kind of just how the overall episode was. It you could really see clearly how she kind of changed the dynamic, and it's just cool how they kind of did her story in interacting with theirs. And so I just really like this episode. I don't really think I have any more to say. I just think it was a good episode. Again, I really like the script. I really like what they did. The actors was great. um and actually, I don't know if I said it before, but again, I really do like the set pieces and all that, the designs of that time, how they have them dressed, how they have the look of everything during that time. That's really cool too. That's all good. Again, a lot of the one liners between Lestat and David. I'm not David. I mean Daniel, the investigative reporter. I like all those different things like that they're saying too in this episode as well. But it's a good episode. Either way, let me know if you like this. If you like this, hit the like button. If you have any comments about anything I said or my review, comment below. Um, and also, please subscribe if you haven't subscribed so already. Trying to hit 1,000 by the end of the year, subscribers. And thank you to those who's already subscribed. And I will see you next time.